On our BJP Congress debate tonight, Rajiv Pratap Rudy, General Secretary and Member of Parliament of the Rajya Sabha, spokesperson of the party, is taking on Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Member of Parliament of the Rajya Sabha and spokesperson of the Congress. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Rudy, are you going to relent? Are you going to relent a little bit now? Because Supreme Court will decide tomorrow whether or not what should be said about the Law Minister, the Prime Minister. Will you let Parliament function?
Well, of course, we all come with an intention every morning to let the Parliament function. But the saddest part is that we have to face a situation which leaves no option to us. And you see, when we talk about the issue concerned and which has created such a situation or a logjam in Parliament, is something very substantive and for which the Bharatiya Janata Party has been raising a protest. Now, first, if you recall that the two issues which has created the situation is one is the 2G and the other is the Coalgate scam. And in both the situations, there is an involvement of the highest of the man, who is the Prime Minister of this country. Now, you'll say how. Now, in the 2G scam, and which was there, and Raja, who was a part of the cabinet and who was sacked, post once the CBI arrested him, and the monitoring started with the Supreme Court. Raja has always maintained that whatever he did as a telecom minister for the scam, the so-called alleged scam of 1,76,000 crore, he always kept the Prime Minister's office in loop. Now, here is the Prime Minister who attempts through the JPC to get himself a clean chit. On the other hand, when it relates to the coal scam, where there is a charge directly on the Prime Minister for being responsible for a defalcation or a loss of 1,86,000 crores, again there, when the Supreme Court starts its monitoring through and asks the CBI to submit a report, here is the Prime Minister who says, well, before you submit the report, show it to my office, show it to the...
No, how do you know the Prime Minister asked for it to be sent? No, one sec, how do you know? One sec, hold your tracks there, Mr. Rudy. Would you like to tell us how you know that the Prime Minister personally asked the Law Minister to tell the CBI Director to make the changes?
Well, very good. There is a very excellent question. Our Prime Minister is the most honest, the most innocent, and he absolutely knows nothing. But the only fact which we know is that the Coalgate, which we are talking about, he was the minister of the concerned department for 5 years when this 142 blocks were allotted, which were subsequently cancelled. So Prime Minister was not involved. He was just sitting there wanting to know.
Maybe Ashwini Kumar. Why don't you give him the benefit? Why don't you give Ashwini Kumar the benefit of doubt?
For Arnab Goswami and the Congress, when he is innocent. But for the BJP and the people of this country, where in the world will you find a person who is accused or he is a part of the dispute in which the allotment took place and where people were allotted, who is looking at the report which is to be filed in the Supreme Court? What business? Because the CBI has said that the Joint Secretary in the PMO. So if Mr. Arnab Goswami doesn't realize that the Joint Secretary of the PMO does not work under the Prime Minister, then I'm very surprised.
No, it's all right. I'm completely flattered. I'm completely flattered. I'm flattered today because,
as Mr. Arnab Goswami says, Prime Minister is an honest man and nothing should be talked against him. But for the BJP and the nation, which has been agitated that he is involved in the 2G, uses the JPC to acquit himself.
Mr.
He is involved in the Coalgate, he uses the government to acquit himself. So there is no charge except that there is something about the Prime Minister.
Mr. Rudy,
the Supreme Court says that CBI should not.
Mr. Rudy, Mr. Rudy, I'm having a terrific Monday. Everything's going right for me. The Foreign Minister of India on this Monday has accused me of not knowing diplomacy, and the Bharatiya Janata Party has accused me of trying to protect the Prime Minister. Both charges. No. Both are all right. Now, my question to Dr. Singhvi is this. Let him respond. Dr. Singhvi, the question to you is this. Tell us and tell Mr. Rudy why we should believe that Ashwini Kumar was doing this all for himself, when one of the beneficiaries of Ashwini Kumar's intervention will be also the present Prime Minister of India. I want your response, please.
I've been in my informal timing mechanism, Arnav, I've counted about 4 minutes for the exchanges I've been hearing between the two of you. Give me at least my 3 minutes. 2 points made. I think the debate is going completely off track because the question is on two issues, Coalgate and the Ashwini Kumar episode. The first question is, please assume everything Mr. Rudy says to be right. For a minute. It's completely wrong, but please assume it to be right. Is there any case cause for disrupting Parliament? On these two very issues, please attack us in Parliament, please question us in Parliament, please criticize us in Parliament, please give the country one good reason why in the second half of a recess with 100 odd bills pending, you won't add that to finance bills, that to budget bills, you will not allow even Parliament to function. There cannot be an answer.
But finance bill is being passed.
The stance of the government on these issues. Let me complete.
They're cooperating with you on the finance bill.
So the debate, one second, the debate is not about Mr. Rudy and you have suddenly launched into the merits of the debate. The debate is about, irrespective of the merits, if he's right, how can they stop Parliament?
No, but why don't you want to discuss Coalgate? Why does an eminent lawyer like you not want to discuss Coalgate? Let's discuss
Coalgate. You haven't
Coalgate.
allowed me my 1 minute, leave aside by 4 minutes. No point interrupting. No, I'll take less than 3 minutes. I'm going one by one. Now let's go to your first issue, which is Coalgate. You know, it's very ironic and interesting, Arnav, that the BJP was demanding a JPC and disrupted a whole session of Parliament on JPC. The Congress was opposing a JPC. Finally, we had a JPC. Now, is it possible that after 2 years of a JPC, which the BJP is demanding, merely because a report is not written to their liking, they can decide to disrupt Parliament?
You're changing the subject twice.
A JPC is comprised of X number of members. Now, it's entirely possible for a certain number of members to take view 1, for them to take view 2.
So
how can it be that the BJP say that till we get a JPC of our choice? Remember, I must add here, that's the third aspect. Before the JPC, Mr. Subramanian Swamy, who is an official member of the BJP, went and sought to get the Prime Minister prosecuted with the Supreme Court. He failed. He then tried the same with Chidambaram. He failed. He then went to the trial court to get them again prosecuted. He failed.
No.
The BJP then chose the JPC mechanism. Having got the JPC mechanism, if they don't have a report to their liking, they have no business to
like a superbly gifted. No, I must intervene because you are doing something very dangerous, Dr. Singh. No, one second, Dr. Singhvi. Dr. Singhvi, 1 minute, Dr. Singh. Dr. Singh, 1 minute. I first want to bring your attention one thing, that you are a superbly gifted lawyer. And you are doing what superbly gifted lawyers do when their argument on one point is weak. They deflect the course. So you will not discuss Coalgate, you will discuss Parliament, you will discuss JPC, but you will not discuss Coalgate. I am asking you today, Mr. Dr. Singhvi, has the Prime Minister...
How can Arnab Goswami, Rajiv Rudy and Abhishek Singhvi discuss Coalgate on a channel? For 2 years, JPC is discussing Coalgate. But you abide by the report.
But they are blocking Parliament on Coalgate.
Let the report say wrong things.
They are blocking Parliament on Coalgate.
On what basis? Let the report come. Let the report come. Whether it's a divided report, a unanimous report or no report, that report will decide.
I am not discussing. I am not discussing 2G. My question is right now Coalgate. My question is on Coalgate. My question is 1 minute. Has the Prime Minister's open defence of Ashwini Kumar over the weekend pushed you into a corner today?
Now let's
where tomorrow, if there are any adverse comments from the court, that defense of the Prime Minister will seem premature. Tomorrow if the Supreme Court were to say a word against the law minister... No, if tomorrow if the Supreme Court were to say one thing against the law minister...
Because I have dealt one by one with your point about disruption, then with your point on 2G JPC, and now I am trying to speak for the last 5 minutes on Ashwini Kumar.
Why is the Prime Minister sticking out his neck for Ashwini Kumar?
He asked for 3 minutes.
No, he takes the responsibility for it. The Prime Minister says that he will stand up for the stand he has taken. The court tomorrow may say something about it.
So
suppose the court finds nothing wrong. Suppose the court finds partially wrong. Suppose the court finds all wrong. How do you disrupt Parliament for the whole proceeding?
Well, I don't know if the
sub judice matter.
It's all
sub judice matter.
Sure,
Mr. Ashwani Kumar will be dealt with in the court. The stand of the government of India will be dealt with in the court. Mr. Harin Rawal will speak in court. How does the BJP, prior to this debate tomorrow on the 30th,
Sir, that's Dr. Singhvi, as I go to Rajiv Pratap Rudy, let me humbly point out to you that while the CBI director's affidavit was silent on the changes recommended by the government, the CBI has reportedly submitted an annexure with a detailed listing of all the changes made in 2 stages of the report, first by the law minister and then by senior bureaucrats of the Prime Minister's office and the Coal Ministry.
Right. Now suppose,
am I right or wrong?
Ask your question, Arnab, in answer to your question. Suppose tomorrow the court does not find anything wrong or contumacious in that. You, I and Rajiv Pratap Rudy will sit on television tonight and decide what the court might decide tomorrow. And we'll disrupt Parliament for a whole week before that. Why don't you have patience? The BJP has no patience to wait for 1 week.
Mr. Rudy, have patience once. I'll let Mr. Rudy respond now. Now you've had your... Mr. Rudy's turn.
It's coming up tomorrow.
The BJP's response now. BJP.
Here is my friend who just said he wanted to speak for 3 minutes and he presumed that I spoke for 5 minutes. And he has continued for 7 minutes without telling a substance or anything of worth. My only submission is when he talks about the 2G, he forgets to mention that here is a 2G chaired by a person who refused to call the Prime Minister, who is one of the who is main accused, and the chairman refused to get Mr. Raja, who wanted to depose, and then they want to say that it's in all fairness that they are going to submit a report. And so, what more evidence do they have? And secondly, here is a gentleman, Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who wants to defend the Prime Minister, and being a lawyer of his own accord, he says the beneficiary of this whole scam in Coalgate or whatever it may be, which resulted in a loss of 1,86,000 crores, the Prime Minister had nothing to do. Only the Prime Minister office asked the CBI to show the report so that they could change the footnotes and they could change the sentences. Except that the Prime Minister office did not do anything. The Prime Minister office and the Law Minister was just correcting the grammar of that report and the typography of the report. Otherwise, the Law Minister was doing nothing with the CBI
No, he's
report.
disengaging.
So here is Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who actually the government did nothing to the report except made few changes in the columns, in the paragraphs, in the words, in the sentences.
Abhishek,
so here is the Prime Minister who is making a plea that they have actually not done. But let the court decide it. But here is an honest Prime Minister with charges of a 2G, with charges of the Coalgate, and who was responsible for allotment of these coal blocks, appending his own signature as a coal minister, but he's an innocent.
No, one second. So Abhishek Manu Singhvi.
Let him be an innocent man. Now he says that why do you see we have run out of patience. Here is a government which has lost all its credibility, survives with a majority of 22 Samajwadi Party votes and says, why don't you come to the parliament? You see, we have run out of patience. We have a role as a national opposition party to tell the world and the country that here is a government which has lost all its credibility. Here is a government where the Prime Minister himself is in the dock because he will be charged, and charge of corruption are there, which is likely to be proven very shortly, where the ministers are manipulating the facts in the records of the court. So here is a very honest government, and they want us to run the parliament. And
no, I'm a simple question, Abhishek.
People are fed up. We are not fed up. People are fed up, and any single day given to you in Parliament will do more damage to this country rather than allowing it to function. So hundreds of bills are going to create more
Abhishek Singhvi
and more corruption, because every day you turn a leaf and there is corruption in this Congress government. So
Abhishek Singhvi, Abhishek Singhvi is simple. You know, let's very simplify this, Dr. Singhvi. You act when somebody does something wrong. The Prime Minister says Ashwini Kumar has done nothing wrong. Is that the view of the Congress party also? That Ashwini Kumar has done nothing wrong by calling the CBI director to his room to go through a report that directly deals with the government, which he is not supposed to have access to. Has he done anything wrong or not? Now let's look at the question of political morality in this.
He was correcting the grammar of those. He was teaching English to the CBI director and correcting the grammar and typography of the.
Now you're being sarcastic again. Let him respond. You're being sarcastic again. Let him respond.
Nothing.
If both of you have finished, I can speak. My friend is tilting at windmills because 80% of what he imagined I said, I have never said. I don't know what he phrases it himself and he answers it himself. I have not said any of what he has said, number one. Number two, the question you asked me, the beginning of an answer to that question will happen tomorrow. Whether he did wrong, whether he did what is alleged, whether what he did was wrong, whether it was fully wrong, partially wrong, or not wrong.
No, you have any doubts that he? You have any doubts that he saw the report?
Please.
It's been said in the court he saw the report.
The point is that this is a matter of affidavits to be filed in court, 100% sub judice, and tomorrow, if the Supreme Court proves all the channels wrong, or the
I'm
Supreme
very
Court
sorry.
proves the
I'm very sorry.
How can we decide?
I'm very sorry. So you want to take it on
and
technicalities?
Parliament on that.
No, you want to go on technicalities on that?
Tomorrow. Let's see.
You are going on technicalities on that.
Hearing on an affidavit filed in Supreme Court a technicality.
I am asking you today the affidavit filed in the Supreme Court.
Filed in Supreme Court.
Yes.
On matters where the Supreme Court has passed an order, which the Supreme Court is monitoring, is not a technicality.
Sir, I am very sorry.
Supreme Court has decided of the matter.
Sir, I am very sorry.
It is the SIT of the Supreme Court which is doing it.
Sir,
they will decide
I am very sorry.
How can you and I decide and disrupt Parliament for 1 week beforehand?
Well, how can you decide?
On what basis? That means you are ignoring the fact that the Supreme Court is directly inside of the matter.
Sir, with the greatest of respect to you, Dr. Singhvi, please understand.
Right or wrong?
No, absolutely not. While the heat is on the Prime Minister's...
What will be left for the Supreme Court to decide
Dr.
tomorrow?
Singhvi, allow me to complete. While the heat is on the Law Minister, do you want us to not look at the fact that the Joint Secretary level officer of the Prime Minister's office and the Ministry of Coal access the report? Is that a good thing to do?
You are refusing to deal with my answer, because
I am dealing with the affidavit.
You are not answering whether this point which you are saying is not to be looked at by the Supreme Court tomorrow or not. And if you, I and the BJP and all the channels of this country verdict today, I want to ask you what the Supreme Court is to do tomorrow.
I am asking you.
I and the BJP disrupt
I am asking you.
Before 30th.
I am asking you
what the Supreme Court is to do tomorrow.
I am asking you.
Question.
I am asking you.
As far as BJP is concerned and Rajiv Pratap Rudy is concerned, he wants to be judge, jury, prosecutor, decider, everything himself. He wants to leave no role for the Supreme
tell me.
Court.
No, let me ask you. Let me ask you. Abhishek Manu Singhvi wanted.
To a Supreme Court order
Abhishek Manu Singhvi.
Who but the Supreme Court will decide this?
Abhishek Manu Singhvi.
Decided in advance in 1 week of disruption.
Abhishek Manu Singhvi.
What logic is there?
No, one second. My last question, therefore, to you, Dr. Singhvi, is this. Tomorrow, if there were to be a critical observation of the court, vis-a-vis the Law Minister, will you try and limit it at the level of the Law Minister? Or will you accept there's possible chain of command beyond the Law Minister?
Arnab, is a question to me, I presume?
Yes.
Yes. Well, the simple answer is we don't work on speculation, hypothesis. Tomorrow what will happen, what will be the language of the court order, it will be adverse. It's absolutely hypothetical and speculative, and I'm not going to answer it. And there is no question of going up or down the chain of command. There is nothing adverse at the moment at all. And if and when something is said, if it is said, when it is said, which is completely speculative, we will see. But there's no question of chain of command as you put it. So on both the fronts, I've answered you.
Mr. Rudy, last one. Mr. Rudy, you accept that? Dr. Singhvi very clearly says there's no question of a chain of command or taking it beyond the Law Minister, if at all.
No, the question is, here is a Prime Minister who is an honest man, and there can't be any aspersions on him. But if he's a suspect in this case, and which has been established primarily when the CBI submitted that the report has been tampered, which is an evidence in public platform, and if there is some moral consciousness with the Prime Minister, it's something called to do with the morality in politics. Does he have any right with being a suspect in the whole case, because he is a suspect and there are eyes watching him? Is it in the propriety of things for the Prime Minister to continue? This is one question not the BJP would say, but the whole country would ask the Prime Minister, who has been responsible for so much of a mess across. So there's a big question which I would throw to the Prime Minister, who is supposedly to be an honest man.
Well, about 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, we'll know what the Supreme Court says, and then we'll go for the political reactions on this story as well. Abhishek Singhvi and Rajiv Rudy, thank you very much. Thank you.